If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-Pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350 today.
Watkins Glen International was born from the streets of nearby Watkins Glen, New York, but Watkins Glen International is now far from any kind of street course you might see today. It's a twisting, winding, rising, and falling road course along the New York countryside that is just about the best in the country, if not the world. I'm sure many would agree there. This place is the heart, I'd say, of NASCAR road racing. So many memories over the last several decades, some good, some bad, so many great times had at Watkins Glen. Throwback to 2012, Marcos Ambrose, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, that kind of stuff. Those are the memories made on these grounds in NASCAR. Welcome to round 3 of the UFL Elite Series. Almost said Cup Series, UFL Elite Series. There is a difference as we're going racing this evening in the drivertees.com at the Glen. Welcome to the virtual Watkins Glen International. It's going to be a fun one for sure. Welcome to Pit Stop TV, and welcome Zach Murtis back to the booth, making that transition back from being in the driver's seat last week at IRP. Glad to have you, Zach, as we get ready to go racing. Watkins Glen is no easy beast, and especially in this Gen 4 Cup car, these guys are up for a challenge.
Yeah, and these guys just super competitive. I know I had my fill of incidents last week trying to contend with these guys, but Watkins Glen is definitely going to put these drivers in the hot seat as we get the 90 in turn 1, and then the S's, the carousel, and the inner loop, or some like to call it the bus stop. And it's not like what you saw with the Barber Fords that we had not just a few days ago where we had the boot. This is just straight off the carousel, straight down into turn 6 and into turn 7, and then it's back onto the front straightaway, back into the 90. So it's going to be an awesome race for these guys tonight, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go.
And we have tons of personalities in this race ready to go racing. Qualifying happening behind us. Let's get straight to it then. Andy Trupiano, the best of the cars, still on track in car number 16. Now make it Cole Cabry to second place, nearly top of the board with guys like Brian Mercurio and Aiden Savitsky. Blake Reynolds now going high up there into the 6th spot. Trupiano still 7th. Chase Cabry now into the top 5. How about Chris Wetz in 8th? Leighton Sabile making his first start of the season in the 9th spot. Brad Perez in nearby 13th as Sean Peleg goes to the top, nearly the top of the board, second quick.
I think I'm going to be mixing up these Cabrys tonight.
Yes.
It's both C. Cabry, so I'm not able to tell if it's Cole or Chase, but Preston Pardis and Aaron Smith turning their laps right now. think Aaron is on his second lap. There's David Cabrera in the 13.
Aaron just wrapped up his qualifying run. He goes third and will go no higher. Here's Gabe Wood from Alpha Prime Racing, beloved crew member there, and looks like he's going to go no higher than the 22nd spot as qualifying time will expire. There's a lot to talk about in this upcoming warm-up session, Zach. First up, we can go ahead and get straight to it. Point standings coming into this evening. 2 races down now. We have a proper plus and minus for these drivers, and there were a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses. Last week at IRP, you see guys like Josh Chin picking up 10 spots. Nick Olson picked up 19 spots. Brian Mercurio picked up 16 with his race win last week at Lucas Oil. A whole lot of changes, but then you have guys like Landon Mills and Shane DiMantova who missed the race and dropped 16 positions.
Yeah, that cut line is not as spread out as I necessarily. Oh wait, no, they do have a playoffs, don't
yes,
they? It's the last 4 races.
Yes, we're going to get to that. There is very much a playoff system, and we're going to get into that more so next week when we go to Pocono Raceway, but it's the same as last season, so I believe we're still looking at that top 12 cutoff where Andrew Swartz and Josh Chin are currently side by side, only a point apart. We also have that 3-way tie at 10th between Moore, Palmieri, and Schwartz. That is a big-time mess of drivers all in those very short positions. And we have several subs this evening once again. I think fewer than last week at IRP, but still worth talking about. There's going to be a sub in the 62 car if it qualified, and I believe that was going to be, yes, Eric Webler running the 62 this evening for Kyle Riley. And then for the 07 of Gabe Herschel, Preston Pardes is stepping in that ride. And finally, Cole Cabry is stepping out of the 25 car. So while Cabry is currently listed in the 25, he has actually earned all those points for Leighton Sabile, and I think now will start earning his points for himself. So, and you know what? On that point, points have not been added yet for Ryan Vargas. So this is all very much going to change, I think, going into Pocono next week after 3 rounds now, when we actually go to the Triangle there. These points are still very, very fluid, especially as the substitution system is very new to the UFL Elite Series and is very much going to move around.
Absolutely, and you know, Vargas with the win, he's going to lock himself into the playoffs, so really the bubble changes a little bit as we move on down. It should be Palmieri would be the last spot in, Schwartz would be the first one looking out, and it would be that 3-way tie between Moore, Palmieri, and Schwartz. And
yes, that would suddenly be the cutoff, which is that much more messy. I mean,
it's very much more messy. You got a 3-way tie. I mean, that's a solid points battle. 62 of Riley is only about a point above that, and then it's another 4 points to Nick Olson. Looking backwards, it's still pretty close.
A whole lot is very close, and we're even getting close already to that cutoff race at Michigan on September 27th. It's only about a month and a week away. Really, time is already ticking on these drivers. 2 rounds in, and the season feels like it's flying by. Watkins Glen this week, Pocono next week, then a week off. On August the 30th, we go racing at Chicagoland, Bristol, Brazil, and Michigan for 4 straight races through September, and then it's another week off when NASCAR goes to Charlotte. Then it's out to Richmond, Charlotte, Phoenix, and Miami on November 1st. To cap off this championship. A lot of great racing ahead of these guys, that's for sure. Warm up on track. Let's see if we can get a handle on some of these paint schemes. There are a ton of new paints on the racetrack once again this week as you take a look here at Nate Stewart in the number 4, and it's going to take a little while to get used to some of these cars.
Maybe just a little bit. I do like the touch that a lot of drivers have given. Jonathan Palmieri there in the 3, obviously the Dale Earnhardt Type 3. It looks really good on that car. Grant Brown in the 76. I particularly am favorable to yellow. I'm not sure if anybody else is, but I am.
Yeah, a lot of these cars look really, really good. I know Andy Trupiano's got a great throwback paint scheme. Some of these guys are kind of faux backs. And you know what? Even Jonathan Palmieri's is technically a faux back. That's not quite the exact Earnhardt RCR style number 3. It's definitely a little bit different, but that's kind of a throwback to a Joey Logano paint scheme from years back when he ran over at Joe Gibbs Racing. At least I think it was Joey Logano that ran that NASCAR, I guess, 08 paint scheme when he was still racing the Nationwide Series. There's Grant Brown, as you mentioned. Justin Melillo's got a great one coming into this evening. That is a fantastic paint scheme for FTF.
Yeah, just loving the Kevin Harvick throwback with it being his final year as Melillo kind of locks up there in the carousel. And now see this one. This is what I'm particular to. Jeff Gordon throwback, the Nicorette scheme. I love that car. It looks so good.
A great one in the pits there for Ryan Pastana in the 43 car. Adam Kodel's got a great number 33. Keith Sherman has a kind of signature paint scheme for himself. Preston Pardis, filling in for Gabe Herschel, has a fantastic looking Bass Pro Shops throwback, even though it's got Gymshark Fitness on the side of the car. And
it's Mark Truex Jr. though, isn't it? The Mark
yes.
Truex Jr. throwback when he was with DEI.
Yes.
I know there was.
Or actually, it might even be a throwback more so to Chance too. The 78 you saw earlier on is going to be. I got to think here. Cody. I figure if it's Cody or Corey Dempster. And the number 78, a throwback to Furniture Row Racing's earlier days. But hey, we have a grid full of drivers, in fact 37 strong, ready to go racing this evening, and our admin Eric Webler is amongst them. So for one, Zach, we don't have to omit that last car on the grid. Let's go ahead and go through our starting order this evening, beginning with pole sitter Brian Mercurio in car 41. Big time qualifying effort there, but we're getting more and more used to it for the 41 car, right up front where he belongs. Sean Peleg will start from second. Aaron Smith, no surprise, he's going to start up front on a road course. Third place this evening alongside Cole Cabry in row number 2. Starting 5th and 6th, Aiden Savitsky and Joshua Chin. A couple of surprises, I think. Brand new drivers of the series that are fantastic on road courses. They'll be starting from row number 3. Starting from row 4, it's car number 4, and Nate Stewart. Big time, I think, underdog in this race. Not really even underdog, but definitely one of the drivers to consider in this one as he rolls off from 7th alongside Chase Cabry. And to round out your top 10, Zach, it's Blake Reynolds and Andy Trupiano.
Yeah, now looking at these drivers that didn't exactly make it top 10 in qualifying, Chris Wetz in the 71 and Leighton Sabile, 11th and 12th on your starting grid tonight here at Watkins Glen. Moving on down the grid, Jonathan Taylor and Brad Perez, Brad himself in the 60 car, coming fresh off Indianapolis on the road course. 15th is Barrett Paulhemus and Cody Dempster in the 78. Love that 78 throwback, just looks so good on that car. In the 15th and 16th position, Austin Moore and Preston Pardis, a road ace. I believe he's done a lot of Miata racing. That is your 17th and 18th starting position. In the 19th, David Cabrera in the 13, and Ryan Vargas in the 26, starting P20 tonight, Andrew.
A Daytona winner there, starting from 20th spot. Jonathan Palmieri rolls off 21st. Gabe Wood starts this evening in the 22nd position. Back to row number 12, it's Ryan Pastana alongside Shane DiMantova. A little bit deeper in the field now. We're getting for some of these drivers starting 25th and 26th. You'll find Josh Parrish, new entry from Elite Performance Industries, alongside Grant Brown in the 76 car. Those guys both sporting some EPI logos on their cars, as Justin Malillo lines up from the 27th spot alongside Andrew Schwartz. And it looks like some of these drivers are electing to start from the pit lane, some of them being Schwartz and Webler and others, as you take a look there at Cosmin Yanisho and Adam Kodal also starting inside the top 30.
And 31st on back is Keith Sherman and Tyler Clapois. I feel like I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. 31st and 32nd tonight. And then 33rd, Dylan Smith, and 34th is Doug DeNice. And rounding out the rest of the field tonight in the 35th and the 36th position, Anthony Rotolo, Eric Webler, and continue on down the line. The last car, Tristan Hagenstein in the 37th position. Andrew, these cars are all lined up, getting ready to take the green flag, and we're going to call all the shots for them tonight here on Pit Stop TV.
Let's take a quick look at the Whiplash SimCam's race details. It's a 45-lap race, a 20-lap stage number 1, where we will, I do believe, keep on racing. No, I think we get the stage caution. I'm getting leagues mixed up already. We haven't even taken the green flag, but let's go down the front stretch and get this race underway. The DriverTees.com at the Glen begins now. Up through the S's for the first time. It was a clean turn 1. A couple of cars slow out of the pit lane. One of them is Andrew Schwartz, as it looks like. We've got crashing. That is Savitsky out in the wall. Ryan Vargas also in trouble. Daytona winner having some issues. Other cars slow back here. It looks like Vargas is okay without damage, but that 82 car is going to be slow in front of the rest of the field, headed into the bus stop for the first time.
Yeah, there's a lot of left side damage on that car. You can almost see the entire left front tire, and Just a little bit of scuffs right there on the left rear, but it looks like he's going to be able to continue, and hopefully nothing should come of that. Otherwise, he might take a pit road now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pit stop there for the 82 car as your leaders roll through turns 6 and 7 for the first time today. Look there at Mercurio still leading over the 70 car of Aaron Smith, and lap 1 will go complete here at Watkins Glen. Savitsky in the 82 car, I think. Oh, he's going to stay on the racetrack. I'm surprised by that. That is a lot of damage to have on lap number 1, especially in a car that's already finicky on a road course. It's no longer sealing off there with the valence down across the racetrack. He's got less left rear quarter panel to deal with. That is a problem as the 3 cars around. Jonathan Palmieri out of turn 1.
And
right more. Anthony Rotola's around.
Doesn't look like he's going to have too many issues. They're going to get it straightened back up, get it back going. No caution. I actually don't remember tonight. Are we doing full course cautions, or are they doing sector yellows?
Well, we'll see a full course yellow for the stage break, but it's going to be left to iRacing for cautions, I do believe, unless it's really that big. But back to Coda last season, we saw the stage break, and that was about it. iRacing, if you're unfamiliar, really doesn't throw cautions on road courses at all. It would take, I think, theoretical levels of crashing that we've just never seen before on the iRacing.com sim, so it's just not realistic. We'll have a green flag race otherwise, as you see a look through the rest of your top 15. And I do want to go back before we get too far gone from it and check out what happened there to the 82 car of Aiden Savitsky off of the start of the race. And this might be a little bit behind it already. Here's Savitsky somewhere. That's when he's already in the fence.
Yeah, it just looks like a big snap coming through the S's. I'm not too sure. Not sure how Ryan Vargas was able to get a piece of that as well, but here's the look at the restart, or excuse me, the start of the race.
Yeah, this is the start from Savitsky's perspective. Had a great run at IRP last week inside the top 10 very early. And certainly a road course ace here, and shoved out of the way early by Nate Stewart. Big aggressive move to the inside. Savitsky made room for him though. Then headed up the hill, something goes wrong, racing alongside Josh Chin and ahead of Blake Reynolds. Hoping there wasn't any contact.
Oh, he snapped loose right there through the S's, and
wow,
he had to catch it.
Yeah, got loose. Looks like the camera cut out a little bit, but got loose on his own and just chased it up into the Armco barrier on the outside of turn number 3. And that was about all she wrote for that good run up inside the top 10. Lap 3 now complete for our leaders, and it's all Brian Mercurio, Aaron Smith out front, Sean Peleg not far back, Cole Cabry in the top 5, Nate Stewart there as well.
You know, Mercurio's doing everything right at the moment as he goes purple that lap with a 1:10, and Aaron Smith has lost about 2/10 actually after crossing the start-finish line. They're getting pretty spaced out amongst the top 5, top 10 runners. But I do believe that we're still in store for a good race tonight, as they're just racing to get to the stage caution right now.
Of course, any NASCAR-style road race is going to be a setup on fuel strategy, and we're seeing that already, I think, as Chris Wetz gets knocked offline a little bit.
Ooh.
I don't think there was any contact, but yeah, Leighton Sabile just up the inside, kind of scared Wetz a little bit into turn 1. Not turn 1, into the bus stop, rather. And the 71 goes off track, going to join in behind Preston Pardis, it looks like, headed back down the short chute to turn number 6. And, you know, for the longest time, Zach, I could have sworn this was an 11-turn course, even with the NASCAR configuration. But I have apparently been proven wrong in recent years. This is apparently 7 corners. I used to count the bus stop as 4 corners. I don't know where I learned that from. If it was a thing in earlier NASCAR broadcasts in the early 2000s. But I could have sworn that was the case, and that's no longer the case.
Yeah, David Cabrera wheel hopping, going straight on. After making contact with Austin Moore, they're both going to go off the track. You see him wheel hop going into turn 1. And that's unfortunate circumstances right there. That's road course racing in these cars. It's so easy to wheel hop, miss your shift, and it creates a really bad scenario. And I'm so glad that they weren't able, or that they were not involved in a much more serious incident. Just a little bit of contact. They lost a few spots. Just make it 15 more laps and you'll be fine. But, you know, as to your point, Andrew, I also thought that Watkins Glen had a lot more turns than it does right now. I thought every corner was a turn, not counted as one complete turn. Like, I thought the bus stop was just one corner, turn 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of just one particular corner. It's not even counted on the track map, really. Each S is counted a corner. The inner loop, you can see, is not counted a corner. The carousel is a whole corner. And then you have 6 and 7. So to your point, I fully thought that it was an 11-turn course as well.
Yeah, and usually this would be turn 6 out here. That's a terrible job of drawing a 6. I'm sorry, that's not even turn 6. That's still turn 5. This is turn 6. This is turn 7 at the toe. The heel is turn 8 in the boot. I can't write numbers apparently with a mouse anyways. This is turn 9. So excuse my terrible job. But anyways, 6, 7, 8, 9 with the yellow dots across with the boot configuration, which means this is now 10 and this is now 11. And some track maps keep it that way. They still call these 10 and 11 because there are other corners. I know Sonoma kind of falls victim to that same ideology in recent years, but I still thought this was an 11-turn course. Apparently it's 7. We're going to be calling these turns 6 and 7 to get in line, but that was our first good onboard look with anybody, as we've got Cole Cabry to the inside of Sean Peleg. This is for third, and Cabry just about sent it there in turn 7. And here we go, Nate Stewart going to turn him. Wow! Don't block Nate Stewart.
I thought he was going to hold on to it there. A little bit into the wall. That's going to cause some problems later on in the race if they get back to each other, more than likely.
Well, Nate Stewart's fine. He got blocked, so he moved the guy.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's as simple as you can make it. But Cole Cabry.
That puts the Cabrys right near each other once again. Cole in front, Chase right behind in the 98.
Yeah, Cabry, I think, learning very quickly not to block the 4-car, and I think everybody else will as well. Cabry made a mistake racing with Peleg, got loose, slowed up a little bit. The 4 had an opportunity. He wanted to go by, and that was going to happen at some point regardless. Yeah, don't block the 4-car. That's what we've learned this evening very, very quickly. Of course, Chase Cabry, Cole Cabry now, nose to tail, as you said, separated by a little bit, though, as Trupiano was a bit closer to Chase, and we've got a slow car, Cabrera, the 13.
Oh, he is very much beached right there in the carousel. It's a bad spot to be in. A lot of cars coming on by. You can probably understand that he's going to take his time getting back onto the track and hopefully not merge in bad time. The cars going by, he seems to be okay. But that is going to cost him a lot of track position. Hopefully he can get it back when the stage caution comes out.
We'll take an onboard look here with the number 13 car and see how he got to this point. This is into the bus stop following Austin Moore. Catches some grass there and just couldn't quite hang on.
Well, at least in Cabrera's defense, it can be tricky sometimes going through the inner loop.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, you can see it right here. And kudos to him, though, for keeping it off the wall, not getting a ton of damage. You can see right here, hits the apex, and then you can see the left front pop up in the air, losing front traction, and, well, around she went.
Yeah, those 4 General tires, they've got a lot of grip, but they weren't going to help him in that case, as you saw him go for that bit of a wild ride. Thankfully, nobody else involved, and we keep on racing here at Watkins Glen. The top 10 now extends down to Jonathan Taylor, our current points leader, and I think we kind of skipped over that earlier on in the program. This is your points leader this evening. Jonathan Taylor leading the way in the standings. That's super important to take note of, as we've got our first pit stop, Aaron Smith in the 70 car.
I love that throwback. It's got a good spin on it, and it still stays true to what it was. It's a throwback to the Olmenard scheme that Olmenard used to run.
No, that's a bit of a different one. Usually, you'd be right. What that throwback is actually to Dale Jr. in the number 81 car, I believe, might have been number 8 still, but in the Nationwide or Busch Series at the time. I'm very sure of that because of the red with the white Earnhardt stripes. Usually, Junior's car was red with black stripes in the Nationwide Series for that race. I think it was here at Watkins Glen. Who got trouble. It was changed over to white stripes. Hagenstein in trouble, though, with Jonathan Palmieri. There was a lot going on. Pit stops as well. These guys are making it hard on us.
Yeah, I think these guys are just trying to get a little bit more gas in. I don't think they're going to have enough fuel to make it to the end of the stage. But we take a look back here at what happened going into turn 1. There's Palmieri and Hagenstein. You can see right there, Malillo almost catches the wall. Pit stops happening behind them.
Yeah, there's Schwartz in the lane, Vargas. Now watch Jonathan Palmieri up the
goes for it.
inside of the number 3 car. Hagenstein might have just turned in across the nose of the 3.
It's very possible. Hagenstein doesn't do a full spin. Palmieri keeps it going. Definitely a tricky situation.
Pit stops aplenty, though, for our race leaders. Here's Josh Chen into the pit lane, bringing Blake Reynolds along with. Chase Cabry is in, Barrett Polhemus. So many cars coming in. There's Polhemus up close and personal. Here comes Shane DiMantova, similar paint scheme. Same paint scheme. Grant Brown comes in. Doug DeNice going to keep on going, but I think... No, DeNice has not pitted yet. Aaron Smith has, however, in the number 70.
And you can see he's jumping a few guys that pitted a little bit after him. I do think this is just fuel-only stops for them to make it to the end.
Yes.
Mercurio is still in the lead. Cabry, I believe Cole Cabry, has worked his way back up to 4th. About a second and a quarter behind Nate Stewart. So a lot of these guys just trying to figure out how they're going to play their strategy game. See there, Sean in the 17 staying out still. Nate Stewart staying out. Cole Cabry staying out. Triviano.
And you know what this could be, Zach? This could be a play for the stage specifically. They should be good to 20 laps on a tank. This could be a play to stay out at the stage, keep these tires on the car, and assume better track position after stage 1.
Track position is great and all, but you've been on these tires for 20 laps now. If you've done a good job at not putting too much heat in the tires, as Aaron Smith almost catches the wall right there, if you've done a good job at not putting heat in these tires, then I would say maybe go for staying out and then hit midway through the other stage.
Or they're good for 20, but they're not good for 25. So they may be planning on a pit stop anyways in stage 2. Take an early pit stop. Yeah. Stay out at the stage here, get good track position, pit early in stage 2, and get those 4 tires and go back out there. A couple of very interesting possible plays for these drivers that are pitting here in stage number 1. Chase Cabry, though, when he came in, took full service.
That is surprising. He may try to stay out at the end of the stage. It's entirely possible as Cosmin Yanishu is coming out of the pits, and I can't tell if that is a throwback to Jeff Gordon,
yes,
or if it's just the inverted colors. They threw me off. I don't remember a time when Jeff ran full red flames and just blew on the back.
I do believe there was a race where he did that. I'm not exactly a Jeff Gordon expert by any means, but here's looking at some other pit stops. Grant Brown was in for 46 seconds. Dylan Smith still in the pits.
Maybe serving a penalty, maybe taking service. I think that right front's torn up just a little bit. I do remember hearing on the driver communication that they said one car was off track about a lap or two ago.
Oh, he just had to tow.
That is unfortunate.
He's done. He already escaped. He is out of here in the 42 car. Let's see what happened to the 42.
Actually, looks like an alt F4. He's already out of the session. Oh, he just got loose coming up. Kept it straight, though, so I'm not too sure.
Hagenstein now out of the pit lane, by the way. But we're going to watch this. So this is Claybaugh. He ends up towing and then immediately alt F4. Is here on the bus stop.
Oh, yep. He just goes great.
Yeah.
Maybe he had something he needed to go do. Maybe something came up because that car still seemed clean. I
think that was frustration. We got pit stops, though, for our leaders, excuse me. I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm surprised my voice has worked this good to this point, but Brian Mercurio in with Nate Stewart, Andy Trupiano, and others. I think that was just frustration from the 42 car. But this now kind of goes against our point maybe earlier. These guys were trying to play the state. I don't know. This is interesting. That these guys waited longer. This seems like it would work against them, as now Mercurio is taking more fuel. If you wait longer in this case, you're taking more fuel.
And that's going to allow Aaron Smith to close up a lot of time here. And Nate Stewart's coming out of the pit lane. There's Chin and Aaron Smith, who's been passed by Chin. Blake Reynolds right behind him. They are single file up the S's. So they have closed a lot of time on what was our leaders. Mercurio is now 10th. Pastana, Moore, Savitsky, Dempster, Delay, Pardis, Taylor, Cabry. All of these guys have just stayed out. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, as Blake Reynolds is going for a move on Aaron Smith, who swings wide in the carousel. Is he going to try to drop back in and pull the crossover? No, he is letting Blake Reynolds go. And Aaron Smith loses another spot. There's
More pit
and more cars
stops.
coming up pit road. Savitsky's finally hitting pit road.
Dempster and Savitsky both here. I was going to say Dempster was racing Leighton Sabile to this point. Now, Dempster down the pit lane. I still think there's going to be a group of drivers that tries to stay out here as you watch more down the pit lane. Savitsky really needs this on the left front. A lot of repairs needed to that car. I mean, if I'm Savitsky personally, I'm going to go ahead and get those repairs. I know I'm good. I know I can race back past a lot of these guys. I'm going to get at least some of these repairs now, especially if the suspension is at all damaged. Because I'd rather get behind now than get so far behind at the stage. But there you go. Back on the racetrack.
I really think he's just waiting for that caution so he can take as much time as he needs and not really have to worry about the big issues that would come with pit road and green flag take service. As Doug DeNice is taking that 40 car into pit road, he's taking service. He's taking full service, I think. Yep.
Yes, sir.
4 tires.
Love this paint scheme, by the way. Everything Doug's been doing lately to his 40 cars are fantastic. So he's going to go for an extended period of time, actually. Trouble there for the 40, but our race leaders are certainly having a good time out front. Sean Peleg with the race lead, and he was fantastic at IRP a week ago. So I suddenly, if he's this good on ovals, short ovals specifically, and road courses in this car, I have a lot of high hopes for this number 17 this season. He very well could be one of our championship 4 when it's all said and done later this season at Homestead.
The big thing about, especially the Gen 4 cars, is versatility. If you can be versatile when it comes to road courses, short ovals, and speedways, I think you're a real championship contender.
Whoa.
And Aaron Smith back down pit road.
This is interesting.
He's going straight through. He's into his box. Oh, he's out. He is disconnected from the session.
Wow. Cabrera also in the pit lane, it looks like, in the 13 car. A lot suddenly going very, very wrong for a lot of cars. Anthony Rotolo in the pit lane. Ryan Vargas has come back in, I think. What is going on?
I'm just sitting here brainstorming at this point. I'm not quite sure what is happening with these drivers today. Vargas in for 11 seconds. He's only got 24 cars on the lead lap. Malillo, Cabrera, Palmieri all pitting and being laps down. Palmieri obviously had problems with spins earlier, but we've only got a few cars out of the race.
I'm pretty sure these guys run full fuel tanks. I'm not sure why they're having to pit so early. They should be good for a while still. Preston Pardis is in. Pistana's in. I mean, our leaders have still gone 16 laps. I'm a little confused as to why we've seen a couple of double pits from guys like, especially Ryan Vargas, Daytona winner, locked into the playoffs, reigning champion.
Peleg is still out on track. Malillo right there behind him.
Here comes Sean, though. Wow.
And that's going to put Malillo back on the lead lap, and if Cabrera can get back up there, he'll be on the lead lap as well.
Let's see, Cole Cabry stays out. What's Jonathan Taylor do? He comes in and pits.
We see Cabry going on by, or not Cabry, Cabrera. Cabry assuming the lead. Abile stays on track.
Austin Moore, it looks like maybe coming in. No, he'll keep going.
Staying out.
And then you get back around to your pole sitter, Brian Mercurio, who pitted earlier. And
is that Palmieri hitting the pit lane?
It may have been. No, that was a different car. Was that Ryan Vargas again?
Wow.
Does he have damage somewhere that we haven't seen?
I saw the white and black, and I assumed it was Palmieri, but that is Vargas.
That, I believe, is his third stop. Second in 2 laps.
Maybe he had a speeding penalty? It's entirely possible. But a lot of these guys have taken these stops, and I'm dumbfounded right now.
A lot of big storylines for a lot of drivers that really matter in this series and are going to play a big role in the championship as your leaders way off. Cole Cabry way out there in turn 6. Let's see if he comes in here.
And yes, he's taking the pit road. Sabile to the race lead. Cabrera back on the lead lap. Tripiano and I believe Palmieri are back on the lead lap as well.
Sabile may not be out to the lead. He's going to pit here.
Hagenstein back on the lead lap now.
Austin Moore will be the last driver to pit. Here he comes, the 91 car. So we're going to have a full cycle around by the time Mercurio comes back by to take over the race lead. There he is, down the front stretch. This puts Nate Stewart second, Josh Chin third, Grant Brown hanging it out there. He's a lap down, I believe. So Mercurio leading. Josh Chin, Blake Reynolds. Where does the rest of this sort out?
It's not really even a full cycle. We had Aaron Smith disconnect from the session as Peleg is going to go right by Jonathan Taylor, take that fifth spot away. Cabry right behind them. Chris Wetz, after going through the first chicane, is back up into what appears to be eighth. I think ninth, though. I think Cole Cabry was able to get out right in front of him. Paul Hemus up into the top 10. Pardis, Dempster, Perez all the way back to 13th. Aaron Smith disconnecting has definitely played a factor into it.
Yeah, I mean, that opens up second spot. It certainly still has been that full cycle and that everybody is now pitted. There's not a car left on the racetrack that hasn't come in for service. Well, I say that. There's a couple of drivers that have come through the pit lane and potentially not stopped. Barrett Polhemus, Preston Pardis, Cosmin Yanosho, and David Cabrera have all been on the pit lane during this run, but ATVO, timing and scoring, currently indicates they have not yet stopped. So they've been in the pits, but haven't actually taken service based on what timing and scoring is telling us. If that's true, that is very interesting. I can't imagine that's the case. I don't know why drivers would have come in and not taken some kind of service, but it also could have been a pass-through for incidents, in which case they are bold, staying out all of stage one when nobody else is.
And Cole Cabry here making a move on Paul Hemus. Off the racetrack he is. Little bit of a nudge. Able to fall in line. Cabry up to the 9th position. There's Brad Perez hanging on to that car right in front of the 82 of Savitsky. Still has that left front damage, Andrew, and to be perfectly honest, Savitsky has seemed very, very fast. He was fast in qualifying and fast in practice. Qualified that car, P4 on the grid, and he's sitting around 12th or 13th. I think that damage is really, really hurting him right now.
Well, when he used to run the Outlaws Sim Series, he was known very much as a road racer. Always the road racer, just about. Always winning those races, and pretty much got himself into a championship fight by simply winning road races, and here he goes. Savitsky to the inside of Brad Perez into turn number 6. Big move here from the 82 car. This is for the 13th position to try and get himself back towards the front of this field. Perez still on the inside, now clears him through turn 7. Passing a guy who is making NASCAR starts because he's such a good road course racer. I know there's a little bit of a disconnect between real life and iRacing. Brad's struggling a little bit with this very difficult car to drive. And hey, you know what? Who knows how much practice these guys have and how much practice he has. He's got a busy week. I'm sure coming off of Indianapolis, a lot of work went in. I doubt he had a whole lot of practice here for Watkins Glen.
Yeah, he was out there most of the week, really, doing whatever work he could, and then ended up getting in that 53 car. Unfortunately, he had a brake seal fail on him on his right front. Unfortunately, ending his day early, about 38 laps in at Indianapolis. And, you know, it sucked for him because he's one of the guys that works so hard. Guys like me, him, we're in the same boat. We work really hard when it comes to the racing, and to do everything we can to put ourselves into the car, and to see bad stuff happen like that and not be able to finish races, it hurts. But, you know, Brad's doing everything he can to do a good job, and you can see him fighting side by side with Austin Moore for what I believe is the 14th position.
Something we missed in all of that is stage 1 did just end, and we raced on through. So I thought we were going to get a stage break. We didn't, and that's why we saw those pit stops the way we saw them. We're still going to see... Okay, maybe not. That's why.
Completion of lap 20.
That's why. Well, it was the completion. The top 10 was that far spread out that Chris Wetz just came across the line. So there we go. There's that stage break we were expecting. Your top 10 on screen are as they should be. Brian Mercurio, Nate Stewart, Josh Chin, Blake Reynolds, Sean Pele, your top 5 in stage number 1. Then Chase Cabry, Jonathan Taylor, Cole Cabry, Barrett Polhemus, and Chris Wetz. And your stage 1 winner. Oh yeah, and your stage 1 winner is Brian Mercurio, very importantly. Big time stage win for him, coming off of a race win last week at IRP.
And they're getting back around, catching the pace car here. Mercurio coming back around, Going to be lap 22 now. So this in lies the fact that we were talking about earlier, is these drivers were in pit road, taking their service, taking fuel. A lot of guys took tires, and a lot of guys took fuel only. Guys like Mercurio, Nate Stewart, they took fuel only. But you got other drivers like Vargas, who was in a few times, but he took tires on one of his stops, I believe. Cabrera took tires, definitely. They're all back on the lead lap after getting back around. Now we see, do they stay out, or do they take the fuel on the pit stop and potentially beat a lot of these guys off pit road that are more than likely going to take tires?
Well, let's take a look at one of the best cameras we have on any racetrack thanks to Whiplash sim cams. Cars coming up over the S's. One of the coolest sights to see, especially here at Watkins Glen. There's Chris Wetz. There's your top 10 gone on through. Preston Pardis taking a P11 there in stage 1 is pretty impressive, considering it was a bit of a lackluster qualifying effort for the 07 car, but definitely adjusting quickly and showing that he's got some road course chops for sure. Road course ace, as you mentioned earlier on. Quite a few of them in this series, and in this race in particular. I would say Nate Stewart, Josh Chin, trying to go on through Preston Pardis, Aiden Savitsky, Brad Perez, and of course Aaron Smith, who had a wheel issue, are all very much known for their road racing, among others that I'm sure I'm missing throughout the field. And we did have clarification, by the way, in League Discord, that the number 70 suffered a wheel calibration error, forcing him basically to have to quit. It seems like everything, all of his wheel settings were erased mid-race, and that would definitely be a whole lot to try and deal with in the middle of a race.
Well, at least he was able to pull off and get onto pit road without causing too much of an issue to the other drivers on the track, and kudos there to Aaron Smith for being able to pull off cleanly. But Andrew, caution's out. These drivers are coming back around turn 7. Do we see anybody take the pit road?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, everybody I think is going to pit. Or not. Yeah, Peleg is going to stay. But I think everybody, as far as our main group of leaders, with a few exceptions, is going to want to come in and get service.
Stays out as well.
Excuse me. This about splits the race in half. I would think that these guys have the fuel to go from here to the end. They may not. Regardless, I think you need these 4 tires and fuel.
Well,
at least to top off.
Your previous leader, Brian Mercurio, in for service, taking 4 full tires. See Savitsky back there taking 4 tires as well. I would hope Savitsky is fixing all of that damage.
Oh, Nate Stewart might have gotten the 41. I think he got him. Yes. Wow. That is a big time pass for Nate Stewart in the pit lane over Brian Mercurio. Josh Chin going to follow out. Then Blake Reynolds, Chase Cabry, Jonathan Taylor. Anthony Rotolo stays out, but will get caught up in the midst of those guys blending back onto the racetrack. This is a unique situation where we're going to see a little bit of that. Cars that were still filtering through and trying to get to the pacing field are going to filter into the drivers that just came out of the pit lane, as several lapped cars are going to be trapped. It looks like 1 lap down behind many of our drivers that stayed out. Looks like 4 of them stayed out in front of the field.
Yeah, this has turned into an interesting scenario. You have, I think that's Grant Brown taking the wave around now. You have Sean Peleg, Cole Cabry, Leighton Sabile, Doug DeNice, and then I'm not too sure how the rest of the field is going to stack up. It's definitely interesting to see how this is all going to play out. I believe it is Cabry that is the first car not on tires. No, Sabile is the first car, the last car not on tires.
No, Andy Trupiano stays out. He's going to line up 4th.
I'm a total mess now.
Trupiano will stay out. He will line up 4th. He pitted 10 laps ago, but it was a long stop for 54 seconds. So it's interesting to me that he stayed on the lead lap at all. With the 16 car, should line up in that 4th spot. That means the first car on new tires will be Nate Stewart, but I don't know how much 5-lap old tires versus 5-lap newer tires are really going to make a difference. At least those first couple of laps. Cold tires, I think, for Nate Stewart will still hold him back a little bit. That said, we'll have to wait and see.
Now, in that same regard, though, you've got Sean Peleg and Cole Cabry Tripiano, and Sabile, all out there on old tires, but the tires are up. The pressures have raised. They've been on these tires for a little while now. They know what they're capable of. In the same respect, they might be able to get this short run, get exactly what they need, and then when they pit, they will be able to get brand new tires and be faster than the other drivers. It's definitely a possibility, but the strategy has to play out in the regard of you cannot lose a ton of time to these guys on these tires. You have to be within, I want to say, at least 8 seconds to be able to jump them if you should take tires.
Let's take inventory quickly of the drivers that are out of this race, those being David Cabrera, Aaron Smith, and Tyler Claybaugh, and then others that are at the back end of the field. One car is 2 laps down. That's Dylan Smith, currently on your screen in car number 1. And drivers that just got the wave around are going to include Jonathan Palmieri with extensive left front damage to the number 3 car, and Gabe Wood, Ryan Vargas, Doug Denice in the number 40 car, getting a wave around, coming back around to the field. Grant Brown included in that group. And even, I believe, Anthony Rotolo and Justin Melillo were either lapped still at the time of caution or on the tail end of the lead lap. Even Josh Parrish back here. So a lot of guys kind of in the back end of the field needing to turn their days around as we come around in just a couple of moments to get this race restarted. And it looks like the single file begins with Rotolo. I think that's where the wave arounds begin for this caution period. Meanwhile, up front we have a field getting ready to go back, green flag racing. It'll be 21 laps remaining when we go back after it here. Our race leaders into turn number 7. The iRacing.com pace car, of course, going to turn things back over to Sean Peleg and Cole Cabry out front for the DriverTees.com at the Glen, powered by Patriot Media Services. Green flag back in the air at Watkins Glen. Some big time blocks down into the first corner, but everybody gets on through. No big turn 1 pile up. Love to see that. Oh, there it is! Trupiano side by side with Leighton Sabile. What a catch, excuse me. What a catch from the 25 car.
Yeah, but look at the catch from the 16 of Tripiano. He's falling back now. Mercurio, Nate Stewart, all going by him there into the bus stop. It was definitely something that was bound to happen. Sabile threw a hard block going into turn number 1, and that allowed Mercurio to lose spots to Tripiano, and then obviously the contact going up through the S's. You see Chin and Reynolds looking at the back bumper of Tripiano.
Meanwhile, Sean Peleg has already pulled a 3/4 second lead on Cole Cabry. Leighton Sabile also on old tires out front. Brian Mercurio, the first car, currently on tires in the 4th position. Nate Stewart through to 5th. Trupiano just behind him. Josh Chin a little bit further back in the 5th spot. And we've got cars all over the place back here. Side by side are Prestana and Schwartz. This is for 18th and 19th. Other cars slow. It looks like Austin Moore in trouble. And a couple of cars pitting, those being Grant Brown and Dylan Smith.
Austin Moore was up in the top 10, and now he's all the way back there in the 30th position, losing a spot to Doug Nice there. See these guys going up the hill through the S's. Such a beautiful shot to see, Andrew. I'd love to see those cars going through the S's.
Oh! Paul Hemus, I think, in the wall.
I believe that was Paul Hemus. He made contact there with the 78.
Dempster.
Yeah. Everything seems to be okay. That car, no major damage in that Jimmy Johnson throwback, and it looks to me that he's still going to be able to continue right there in front of Brad Perez.
Now, one car here in the 84 of Yana Show. He's checking up in the Rise Esports Chevrolet. Adam Kodal goes on by. Adam going to take over the 26th position. That moves Cosman back to the 27th spot with Jonathan Palmieri just behind. You see a side-by-side between Rotolo and Wood up ahead. Gabe Wood hard in the outside wall. Sliding into turn 6 in big trouble for the 04. He's going to try and get back going or maybe tow. No, he is going to refire.
Got the rear tires right there in the gravel trap as Austin Moore goes way off track, and that is some major front end damage. Actually, it's not too bad. It's a little tore up on the right front. It's a little bent on the front end. I think he can continue with that, but it may be a little finicky for right-hand turns. It might actually be leaning to the right.
Regardless, big contact there. Now Josh Chin racing with Andy Trupiano to the bus stop and making that pass. That puts Chin now right back behind Nate Stewart. That's an important pass for him to make as Mercurio brings the fight to Sabile.
Side by side, and Sabile is going to lose that spot to Mercurio. And he's definitely going to take him to Gapplebees after that one, all the way down going into turn 6. Getting at least 0.3 of a second on him.
And here comes Nate Stewart. This will be a fun battle to watch.
Oh yeah, he is looking on that back bumper, knocking on that door. Yoo-hoo, anybody home? I'm coming. Off of turn 7, gets a good run. He's gonna take a look down going on the front straightaway.
Stewart looking to the inside for turn number 1, wants to get there on the 25 car and will get there and make that pass look easy for 4th position. But Sabile is not done just yet. Now fully clears the 4 car as Joshua Chin looks to the inside of Sabile up the hill to the S's. Lap 28 underway of 45. When do these drivers start to think about the pit lane again? They make it about 15 laps to the end as Sabile has a big bobble and gives up the 6th spot.
I hate to break it to Sabile, but I think now's the time to take it to pit road. You're losing too many spots with those old tires. Obviously, these cars can make it on at least 17 laps. We saw drivers hitting pit road, lap 16, 17. It's definitely not a bad strategy call right now. You'll still be able to be on those new tires and take advantage of being faster than a lot of these guys right now. It seems like a smart call right now. You take that car to pit road, get that service, get those tires, and hit back on the racetrack and be able to take advantage of the new tires.
What's interesting here is he's got Trupiano just behind, who is on old tires still. Blake Reynolds trying to get by, and finally Blake Reynolds finds an opening to get by the 16 car. He spent a couple of laps behind that 16, trying to check up and give him space, but that's a beautiful pass from the 66 in turn 7. Now has an opportunity to look up at Leighton Sabile. I think if they fall out of the top 10, that's kind of panic mode as Chris Wetz is going to head down the pits.
And Sabile caught a bit of a break there with the 2 of them fighting behind him. But Blake Reynolds obviously faster. And he is looking to take that spot away, only 0.2 behind as Wetz hits his box. Does he take full service or is it just gas we're looking at here?
Fuel only.
Like fuel only. Yep, out and away, only about 5.6 seconds.
So it's a confusing first round of pit stops, but I think this second round will be a lot more cut and dry. These guys have an idea of what they're going for, a much more clear picture of how to get to the end of the race. And they've been here, done that kind of thing already at this point. So I really do believe this second round will be much more clear, much more organized maybe, as briefly we saw Leighton Sabile trying to defend over Blake Reynolds. That won't last long. Around goes the 66 car by the 25 of Sabile, and now Sabile gives up 6th for 7th as we have pit stops. Here comes Trupiano, here comes Cabry, Chase Cabry that is.
Now, one thing I feel like we really neglected to mention is that Cole Cabry has closed that gap on Sean Peleg, and it seems to be growing a little bit more right now, but the other Cabry of Chase Cabry is on pit road.
And that brings in Pistana, that brings in Vargas, that brings in, it looks like Josh Parrish as well in the 55, Anthony Rotolo pitting. A lot of important stops. Brad Perez even in the 60 car.
I think we see a lot of guys taking full service here. Yeah, Brad Perez taking 4 tires. Pistana out and away. Vargas taking tires right there.
This is an important stop to watch, Ryan Vargas, and make sure that he has a good race to the end of this one this evening. He won Daytona. He's our reigning champion. But you're going to have to execute on these couple of road courses to have good seating for the playoffs. You can't just rely on Daytona and the other ovals. You're going to have to execute this evening. We're seeing that. Brian Mercurio, fantastic on these road courses. Watkins Glen is going to be a walk in the park compared to Brazil, as we've got a pit stop maybe, or a race leader. No. Yes, Peleg. I'm sorry. For a second there, I thought Mercurio was still leading, but Peleg into the pit lane turns the race lead over to Cole Cabry. But I go back to that point. Road courses mattering twice as much this season compared to last season, Zach. Last time through in the next-gen car, it was just COTA. This season, we have Watkins Glen and Interlagos. You've got to be good at both. If you're having trouble this evening, that's a warning flag, a red flag for Brazil, especially with how late in the regular season it is if you need to make points up, whether you have to point in or just improve your seating.
Yeah, and you just got to make sure that you're hitting all your marks, not doing anything that would cost you too big of an amount when it comes to track position on the racetrack, points overall, it's being perfect. As Palmieri has a little bit of right front damage. Not too sure where that came from, though.
Yeah, that left front's been kicked in for a while. I think that happened with Hagenstein potentially, as one car was off recently in turn number 6. A few extra cars are out of the race, including Austin Moore and Dylan Smith. Andy Trupiano 1 lap down. He had a 54-second stop, speeding on entry for that driver that was inside the top 10 at time of pits.
And you can see Mercurio has really closed that gap onto Cole Cabry. And more cars down pit road. That's Leighton Sabile. And I believe, yes, that is Polhemus.
Important stops here for these drivers as well. All of these stops, of course, are important.
Polhemus hits his box. Do we see full service? Yes, we do. Left side's going up.
And Leighton Sabile ahead. Fantastic job of holding off some of those drivers for as long as he could, but this 4-tire stop certainly going to feel like an eternity for car 25. Doug DeNice in the pit lane on the number 40. And we've got ourselves a good battle for the race lead as Melillo's up top of the carousel letting these guys go by. Cole Cabry, Brian Mercurio, very different tire situations. Cabry's are 5 laps older. Mercurio looks to the inside there in turn 6.
Yeah, that was a big look right there. A little bit of a wiggle out of Mercurio. Cabry goes defensive, might be taking the pit road here.
I think he is, yep.
Yeah, there he goes into pit road. Mercurio back on by, resuming the race lead. Nate Stewart, Joshua Chin, and Blake Reynolds directly behind.
On board with Josh Chin, running 3rd now. And I feel like this is the race. Mercurio, Stewart, and Chin. This is the race right now. And they look very, very even, Zach. I don't know that there's necessarily one that's that much better than the other two.
Up in the edge, tonight.
And he toes. Wow, the timing.
I heard a car go around in the iRacing simulation, and I wasn't sure who it was. I took a quick look, and, well, looks like it was Doug DeNice getting loose in the S's, and
cold tires.
that's just what happens. See here, he's coming out of pit road after taking what I believe was full service, and there's Grant Brown and Anthony Rotolo.
DeNice, a fantastic looking car until this moment. Just gets loose.
Snaps it around, rear end into the wall, and front end into the wall right there. There's Mercurio. So close, coming up the S's. That's not what you want to see.
That was close, particularly for the 4 car of Nate Stewart. Let's take a look at it from the driver's point of view. Our driver's eye camera brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. For Nate Stewart, headed up the S's.
There's DeNice, and Stewart checked up just a little bit. And he might lose position there, Joshua Chin. Still running Mercurio, Stewart, Chin, your top 3.
Cody Dempster into the pit lane from position number 7, it looks like. Keith Sherman, Adam Kodal going to join him. A lot of cars have pitted recently. Even, in fact, just about everybody aside from your top 6 has pitted in the last couple of laps. So Mercurio, Stewart, Chin, Reynolds, Taylor, and Hagenstein still have to pit, Zach.
We still have a few more cars out of the race. Dylan Smith, Gabe Wood, and Austin Moore have all disconnected from the race. I do believe Doug DeNice is going to be out of the race as well. It's all up in the air right now. Mercurio is coming back around turn 7. Nate Stewart seems to be managing the gap nicely as Rotolo now is looking to go a lap down to Mercurio, Stewart, Chin, and Reynolds. And then the next one back is Jonathan Taylor, about half a straightaway behind him. And we've got 10 laps to go next time by, Andrew.
Yeah, 11 to go that time by the flag stand. On board, suddenly I think it's a 4-car race. I don't know if Mercurio's maybe trying to underperform a little bit. We saw this recently. I'm trying to think about when and where it was. But cars kind of underperforming a little bit, backing up to others. I think we're seeing a little bit of that here this evening as Melillo is slow into the bus stop. I think Mercurio is checking up just a little bit. I think he could probably run faster considering the 4 and 93 are suddenly on him. And Reynolds has made up all this time. That or Blake Reynolds may just have everything it takes for this win this evening if he can only get clear of these guys. And that, of course, is a challenge as he gets held up a little bit out of the carousel. And it looks small from the TV camera, Zach, but behind the wheel of these Gen 4 Cup cars, 850 horsepower, very little downforce. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. It's not that small of a moment when you have to jump out of the throttle, out of the carousel. Even jumping out of the throttle really changes the balance of the car very suddenly.
Yeah, it's very difficult to control these cars. They're so unstable most of the time. And one thing that I'm starting to consider is, we went green, what, around lap 25, 26? About 20 laps to go, if I'm not
With
mistaken.
21 to go. So it was lap 25, we took the green flag.
So, you pointed out that Mercurio seemed to be going a little bit slow. These cars can run about 18 laps on fuel. Maybe he is trying to save a little bit of gas and make it to the end. Leighton Sabile, obviously good to the end with Paul Hemus right behind him. But we've got one car slow in the carousel. I think that was Malello.
Yeah, Justin kind of moving over for these guys, letting everybody go by.
He's got damage.
Yeah, having a bit of a rough day at the office in 29th position. Palmieri as well now, 5 laps down, recent issues for these guys. And this is tough for a guy that should be in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate to see, and it's not something that you want to happen to you only a few races into the season. But at the same time, you've got a lot of races left to recover as Mercurio crosses the line. 10 laps to go. And all 4 of these cars, you can throw a blanket underneath them, and then it's another 5 seconds back from Reynolds to Taylor. Peleg is turning some decent laps right now, but the Cabries not a few seconds behind him. They're about half a second apart from each other.
But if the leaders still have to pit, this is your effective race leader. Sean Peleg, as he's all over the place, has pitted. He's good to the end at this point. Pitted 6 laps ago. The Cabries pitted 4 and 7 ago. Everybody from Peleg down, 7th on down through the bottom of the order, is good. We're unsure about Mercurio, Stewart, Chin, Reynolds, Taylor, and Hagenstein, but this would fit into what we were talking about earlier, trying to play the stage so that they were either good or in better position or something here for stage 2. And clearly we were left in the dark about it all, but it may or may not be working. For these 4 drivers, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And
here we go, pits.
Oh, there it is. All of the top 3 are hitting pit road.
Question is, can they take just a splash and dash? This is going to be a lot of time they lose. They only have 20 seconds back to Peleg, who took nearly full service. It looks like 2 tires. They're going to lose more than 20 seconds here on the pit lane alone. Peleg has a serious leg up.
15 seconds back to Peleg. Now about 10.
He's going to go on by. He's 100%, I think, going to take the race lead out of this. Here's the 17. Now, Reynolds and Taylor stayed out, but there's a 17 at turn number 1, and there you see those guys leaving the pit lane. Peleg's going to take the race lead. Stewart's going to take over second when it's all said and done, and now Mercurio has fallen back to the 4th or 5th spot. Joshua Chin got out much more quickly, and it looks like maybe a 2-tire stop potentially for Brian Mercurio, as he took nearly 10 seconds in the box itself.
I don't know how well that's going to play out for him, as the Cabry brothers are right behind him. It's definitely an interesting play, as Blake Reynolds is still your race leader, 6 seconds in front of Jonathan Taylor. He's got to come in here. He's not. He's staying out. He's playing the long game. Jonathan
See what Taylor does.
Second position.
Oh no!
Oh, contact! Rotolo
cleared himself off of the 5 car, and our points leader has just taken himself out of second place. I don't know how this is going to work out now. Broadside on the front stretch. This is a huge, huge issue for somebody who had been oh so consistent in breaking the mold, seriously, for the 7 car compared to last season. Yeah, this is going to be huge. We theorize that he still has to pit, and he just lost all the 20, 25 seconds he had, as this could be for the race win. Stewart on the inside of Peleg moves the 17 up the racetrack.
Yeah, there was so close between the 2 of them right there.
Oh, maybe contact through the S's.
There is a little bit of contact on the quarter panel. Joshua Chin coming in. Peleg still side by side with Nate Stewart.
Contact some more. Chin's going to have a run for the bus stop. Where is he going to put it in the 93 car? He's going to stay in behind as Peleg now falls back of the 4. Serious big-time racing for the race win suddenly between these three. They should be the eventual race leaders once Reynolds and Taylor pit.
And Blake Reynolds just hit pit road. So there you have it. Those top three. Jonathan Taylor's going to have to pit sometime soon. Nate Stewart provisionally is going to be your race leader once they get past Jonathan Taylor, who I would assume needs to take it to pit road this time.
It'll be 6 laps to go, this time by the stripe. Nate Stewart looking for his first ever win. Sean Peleg, I believe in his rookie season, would certainly love to go to victory lane. Taylor going to stay out and try and get a lap led, I think, this next time through. He's going to have to go 2 more laps, because if he pits the next time through, he'll be passed by these guys before the start-finish line.
Yeah, that would seriously affect his race. And there's Blake Reynolds coming out of pit road. He's going to merge right with these leaders.
Right for the chin. Wow.
And Brian Mercurio has...
Oh, no! Look at Nate Stewart, Jonathan Taylor. I think there was maybe contact there. Taylor letting these guys go by now, not really letting them, as he's trying to catch the car. Mercurio nearly catches it into Chin and goes on by the 93, who I think wants no part of any of that, into the bus stop.
And those tires are playing dividends for Mercurio. He's caught Nate Stewart, he's caught Blake Reynolds, and he's caught Sean Peleg.
Into 4th suddenly. He was just 6th a second ago. Cole Cabrey, Chase Cabrey, they're catching up. Preston Pardis not that far back, and we have ourselves one heck of a race for the race win. It'll be 5 to go, this time by at Watkins Glen. The drivertees.com at the Glen certainly is not disappointing this evening.
Yeah, tires paying dividends right now as Mercurio's right on the back bumper of Blake Reynolds. Peleg losing ground to Nick Stewart, but there's Mercurio looking up the inside on the front straightaway, side by side. He's got the nose in there, and he's going to send it on the brakes. Can he get Peleg too? No, but he will clear Blake Reynolds, who goes for the switchback. Not quite there, and Mercurio drives it up the S's, looking to go get Sean Peleg next. Only half a second behind Nate Stewart.
Jonathan Taylor, points leader, falling back to 14th, 15th, 16th. Losing all kinds of spots in the pit lane, but he had to pit. Here we go now for the second spot. Mercurio on Peleg. How is it going to go into the bus stop? Mercurio on the inside for the first apex. Can't get to the, well, can't really get alongside him at all. Has to fall back in line, and here comes Reynolds. Peleg, though, way out wide out of the bus stop. Opens up the door. Contact through the carousel. Mercurio's on through. Here comes Reynolds.
And here comes Joshua Chin watching all this happen. He's almost next to Peleg. And Mercurio has his sights set on Nate Stewart as more cars coming over the radio saying they're hitting pit road, but not these leaders right here. They are strong moving forward with 4 laps to go at the line. Rotolo locks it up going into pit road. The Cabrey brothers closing up just a little bit more. Actually, I think they lost a few seconds to Nate Stewart. As we go through turn 1 right here, yeah, you can see Nate Stewart has such a commanding lead. About 0.8 of a second over Mercurio, but that lead is closing very, very quickly.
Preston Pardis in the top 10. There's Chris Wetz, Leighton Sabile hanging on nicely. Sabile is in 10th currently over Barrett Polhemus. Not much of a gap. You see Cody Dempster there as well. Andrew Swartz put a nice run together in the 13th spot. Aiden Savitsky, since his damage earlier, has settled into 14th position. Brad Perez, 15th. The quiet day there for the 60. I think he's just happy to have a clean race and no bent panels on that Chevrolet. Further back, Shane DiMantova, 16th. Ryan Vargas, 17th. 18th goes to Ryan Pastana currently. Jonathan Taylor currently in the 19th spot. Keith Sherman rounding out your top 20. It'll be 3 to go, this time by for your race leaders, and it's now 0.6 of a second the gap between Stewart and Mercurio.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely cutting it down to the wire as the Cabreys still continue to fall back. It's a fight for second.
Here we go.
It's a fight for first. Side by side across the stripe. Give it to Nate Stewart, who goes defensive going into turn 1. They are still neck and neck.
Mercurio's got the edge.
Yeah,
he's gone.
Got the power. He is going right on by Nate Stewart, taking the race lead away. New leader, Brian Mercurio. And Nate Stewart just dropping back now. I think those tires were the right move. As you can see, Mercurio has a huge gap over Blake Reynolds, Sean Peleg, and Joshua Chen.
I hate that for Nate. So close to a first race win here in the UFL Elite Series. Nearly had it all perfect. Just lost a little bit of time in those battles earlier on, or he might be a little further ahead of the 41 still. Meanwhile, you take a look here at Sean Peleg running in the 4th spot over Joshua Chin. Well, should still hang on to a top 5. They've got a few seconds back to the Cable brothers. They're looking good. Everybody up here in the top 5.
Yeah, Peleg has been doing a lot of good stuff, and Mercurio's going right on by Doug Nice. He's going to go way, way wide. As there are lap cars fighting in front of the leaders. Andrew, I don't think this race is over just yet.
Not just yet. 2 laps to go this time by here at Watkins Glen. This is going to go down, I think, as a classic race for the UFL Elite Series. So much action, so much excitement, and a little bit of drama here and there as well to kind of spice things up. And I don't think we're done, at least, maybe not for the race win, but certainly not done for the top 5, as we've got Rotolo and ahead of a couple of leaders up the hill here. On board with Joshua Chin. Started 6th, currently in 5th. He'd love to pick up a few more spots.
Yeah, he's still really close to Sean Peleg, and still definitely an opportunity to get that spot from him. I don't know if we're going to see it happening, though. Mercurio, though, has an almost 2-second lead over Nate Stewart. It's going to have to take a big, big mistake for Mercurio to lose this race to Nate Stewart. On board right here with the back bumper on Nate Stewart, about 2/10 in front of Blake Reynolds. Do we see him hang on for 2nd, maybe lose it and get 3rd? Blake Reynolds still just trying to find any way he can to get around Nate Stewart. As they're through 6 and 7, Camry brothers, they're still neck and neck, passing Rotolo right there. Off turn 7 though, white flag in the air presented by Whiplash Sim Cams. One more time around for Brian Mercurio. Can he hang on to take this win?
1 lap to go, 2.5 miles thereabouts for our race leader out front in the 41 car. Nate Stewart has fallen back to Blake Reynolds. Sean Peleg in 4th. Joshua Chin 5th. One more time through, and weather conditions, they've been overcast all day long. 66 degrees in the air, 72 on track. That has helped these guys keep the tires underneath them, but at this point, they are still screaming for grip. They need everything they can get behind the wheels right now. Let's see, though, if Blake Reynolds can do anything for this 2nd spot. Back inside the helmet here, the 66 car. Can he do anything here with Nate Stewart? Is he just riding along to see if he can grab something? Nose to tail. They stay.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of ground through the inner loop going into the carousel. Blake Reynolds on that back bumper.
Here we go.
Looking to take the spot away. He is side by side now with Nate Stewart.
If it's gray, it's okay. He went way out there to extend and get alongside. Through to 2nd contact. Stewart tries to get in behind. This all for 2nd, though, as out of turn number 7.
Looking low.
Here comes Brian Mercurio for the race win. There's contact for 2nd. And Josh Chin, in all of his preparedness to just let those guys fight, goes on through to 2nd. Nate Stewart 3rd. Blake Reynolds 4th. And Cole Cavery nabs the top 5. Sean Peleg will come through in the 7th spot. Preston Pardis 8th. And everybody else comes on down the front stretch and wraps this one up. Look at that party across the line. That puts Andrew Schwartz in the top 10.
That was one heck of a show going there to the line. So many different things going on. I think I don't know really what to say what happened there. Mercurio, Chin, Stewart, Reynolds, Cavery. What a race.
Incredible finish up front. I am absolutely floored by how that one worked out, and Stewart gets absolutely junked by Blake Reynolds. After
that takes Mercurio out.
Way after the line, after the bus stop even. What are we doing, guys? But there's your race winner, Brian Mercurio. A couple of cars left to finish. I think Justin Malillo is the last one, but he's in the pit lane. So it looks like the race has gone relatively official, unofficially official, we'll say. Left for the admins to kind of make any other adjustments they may need to, but for now, race results are official as of iRacing's point of view. And here comes Brian Mercurio around to the front stretch to celebrate a job well done 2 weeks in a row. And clearly, Zach, we have got ourselves a season favorite in just about every sense of the word, as I think Peleg displays some displeasure with the number 4 car of Nate Stewart for that crash through turn 7. But Brian Mercurio going to burn it down on the front stretch at Watkins Glen. Such a deserving race win. 23 laps led just over half of this race.
Yeah, just a dominating performance from Mercurio. He was able to really put that car...
Home race, too.
Yeah, put that thing where it needed to go. And He did start on the pole, if I'm not mistaken.
That he did. To be a home race here this evening at Watkins Glen, a home race next week at Pocono, not too far from New Jersey. Mercurio on top of the UFL Elite Series for a second season in a row. I would not have counted on that when we made the switch over to the Gen 4 car, but absolutely this guy has got this series under his thumb as we speak.
Yeah, he's just been on rails. I can't speak for last week because I spent last week mainly in the back of the pack with these guys. So I don't know really who was leading that race, who was winning, but Mercurio is definitely putting on a show for a lot of these guys tonight and showing them exactly why he's going to be in the championship at the end of this season.
Mercurio comes to a park there on the front stretch. We've got a lot to go back and look at, though, Zach. A whole lot to go back and look at. Let's see if we can get to it. First of all, for the second position. Excuse me. See, there's the cough that I've been trying to hide all night long. This was after the fact by just a little bit. So let's go back here. This is into the bus stop. Josh Chin, Nate Stewart, all these guys. Let's just see how it all works out.
Yeah, you can see Nate lost ground in the bus stop there, which allowed Blake to have a really good run through the carousel. You can see he backed it up a little, set up the run. There it is coming off the corner, swung it wide to utilize all that speed, all of the racetrack. And then there goes side by side down here into turn 6, and this is where all the commotion happened going into 7. There's the contact.
That's certainly one way to put it. Commotion for sure. Reynolds got on by with a little bit of contact. Peleg moved down in front of the 4 car, and I think Stewart shipped them both a little bit. Got them both out of the way. There went Josh Chin on through for the second spot.
I think the big thing for Nate Stewart is just that he was not expecting Peleg to make such a quick move to the right. And here we see on board with Nate Stewart. There's the initial contact with Blake Reynolds.
If there was any. I mean, that's fair game.
There's the loop. Excuse me.
I don't think Stewart even shipped the 17.
Really
I don't think Stewart made contact with Peleg until Peleg was already firewall deep in the 66 car.
He really didn't. It was the 66's initial contact with the 17 that caused the whole thing, and they checked up in front, and I mean, you've got nowhere to go, especially when you're on the back bumper like that. There's the contact, and then boom. And Joshua Chin just says, thank you very much, I'm just going to swing on by.
We'll go back again and watch the onboard from Stewart. There was no contact with the 66 in turn 6. We'll watch this first from a TV camera. I don't think... I think that was more so an adjustment from Stewart to stay out of the 66 car. And then watch here, Peleg maybe... I mean, this is all fair game to me. This is
Peleg
racing for second. Right. And if there was any contact there off the nose of the 4 initially, there was very, very little.
And then there's...
But Nate Stewart, I really don't think there was anything done wrong there at all. I think certainly fair game to have emotions, and we'll check back in. There's 2 more things we kind of have to look at. One with the finish for 10th, and then one still with the emotions down the backstretch. Here's Blake Reynolds. I'm pretty sure he comes up here and ships the 4 out of the bus stop.
Yeah, he ends up getting into the back bumper here at Nate Stewart, and it ends up hitting into Brian Mercurio as well. You can see Blake Reynolds hightailing it down the backstretch. There is Nate Stewart right in front of him, Mercurio next to him, and yeah, might need to talk to race control about that one.
Then somewhere in here, I think Peleg comes up as well after the fact. I don't know.
Peleg goes right on by.
Well, he hit the brakes there. I don't know if he maybe thought about something. No. I think he brake checks him coming into the pit lane.
Yes, he does.
And that's what we're going to get to here.
This is coming into the pit lane on board with the rear cam of Sean Peleg, and Nate Stewart's right there. Gives him a little bit of a tap going in the pit lane. That's the brake check, though. And then he kind of comes over to the left just a little bit, showing a little displeasure about what happened there. And full game right there to Sean Peleg. He's going to be irritated. He had a shot there at second, and there you can see Nate Stewart retaliating a little bit more. And,
oh, wow.
That I did not see.
really got frustrated there to the 4 car.
Shades of, honestly, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch at Bristol that one year. Getting into each other coming into the pit lane, and then Carl Edwards just said, nope, thank you very much, I'm going to send you in. This is the last corner. Look at that crossover move.
Yeah, that's what we want to come back and take a look at with Andrew Schwartz and everybody else for 10th position. If this was a stage finish, this would have been that much cooler. This is going to be on board with Schwartz up the hill. After this, though, we do have to get to our post-race with drivers waiting in the wings. As it's been probably 5-10 minutes since they finished the race now. There's just so much to go back and look at from the last lap alone. Here's Schwartz. Started from the pit lane earlier in this race. That's why we don't even get data from this guy. He had to come through one heck of a field to get to the 10th position. This is how he did it on the last lap, racing with Leighton Sabile, and it looks like, is that Polhemus? No. Yeah, that is Polhemus.
Because Leighton Sabile and Polhemus came out of pit road together, and they were fighting the majority of the remainder of the race. Sabile goes defensive. Sabile actually locked the left front.
And that opens the door. That stacks him 2 by 1, I guess. Two wide at least to open up the door for the 67 on the inside. Polhemus overcooked 7. Sabile went with him. And they're all just trying to get the power down the front stretch.
They're all sideways coming off of turn 7. And Schwartz just said, you know what? I'm going to follow. Oh, they made contact after the line there. And Sabile just got into him going into turn 1. But I don't think Schwartz really cares too much. He ended up getting that top 10 finish anyway.
And finally, we can take a look at race results here. 23 laps led for Brian Mercurio, who goes to victory lane. Josh Chin second, Nate Stewart third. We'll be talking to each of them in just a moment. Really excited to do so as Blake Reynolds goes 4th, Cole Cabry 5th, Chase Cabry 6th, Sean Peleg 7th, Preston Pardis 8th, Chris Wetz and Andrew Schwartz wrap up the top 10.
Yeah, and rolling on down, 11th, Leighton Sabile, first one out of the top 10, looking in. Cody Dempster right behind him, Barrett Polhemus, and Aiden Savitsky, after having a lot of damage early on in this race, still holds on to be able to finish 14th. Brad Perez right there in the 60, right behind him in 15th position. The 20, the 7, 26, Shane, Jonathan, Ryan Vargas, all finished in 16th, 17th, and 18th. Brian Pastana, Keith Sherman, rounding out your top 20 finishers tonight here at Watkins Glen.
21st goes to Tristan Hagenstein. Long race for him. Remember, he started from dead last, 37th on the field. Adam Kodal, 22nd. Cosmin Yanishow, 23rd. Josh Parrish, Andy Trupiano, Grant Brown, the first car, 1 lap down. Doug Denice, Anthony Rotolo, Jonathan Palmieri, Justin Melillo, all had early exits or were laps down there at the end of the race, along with these guys, Gabe Wood, Austin Moore, Dylan Smith, David Cabrera, Aaron Smith, and finally Tyler Claybaugh and Eric Webler. I don't think he even started the race, actually. He was here to at least get starting points for Kyle Riley, but no dice for the 62 this evening. Finally, we can get on down the driver of the 41 of Brian Mercurio, who goes back to victory lane again this evening, 2 weeks in a row now, and one of your 2 home racetracks in the schedule as well, Brian. It's got to feel pretty good.
It's pretty good. I wish I could make it 3 next week at Pocono, but I will not be here, unfortunately, so to at least get 2 here before I go away for a little bit, pretty nice.
And now doubly locking yourself into the playoffs. There's no way you're knocked out now. I think you're already locked in. 8 races, yeah, you were already set. But that also helps your seeding. How important is that to make sure you're good at all these different racetracks, make sure you're the top seed going into this very short 4-race playoffs?
I think it'd be pretty good. I'm gonna have to honestly double check and go back and see what tracks are on the schedule. But honestly, really anything in this car is really fun, really rewards being careful and being able to manage your tires while still having a bunch of pace, you know, whether at short track like IRP or road course like Watkins Glen. I know we're gonna have a few mile and a halves coming up. I know we go to another road course later in the season, so it's just kind of a mix of things. But overall, it's pretty fun racing this, and yeah, glad I get my second win in a row here.
And Brian, I should back up before we let you go this evening. How about the strategy battle? There was clearly differing thoughts all night long between somebody and somebody else. Everybody was on a different page. What page were you on? What were you really going for, not only in stage 1, but also then in stage 2? It seems like you took 2 tires, and that was clearly the move.
Yeah, I'm going to be 1,000% honest. Anybody who was in the same voice channel as me, Josh Chin was up there, Brad Perez was in there, and pulling into my box and double checking fuel, and I realized I still had tires checked. So thought I got them checked in time, and Turns out they only decided to bolt on lefts, which, if I did take 2 tires, was without a doubt the best possible thing I could have done. So it was, I'm going to be 100%, it was unintentional for me to take 2. But it just so happened I only lost about 2 seconds to the group ahead, and once Sean and Nate got racing, it kind of backed them as well as Chin up to me. And then we merged right with Blake, and that was right at the time that I caught back up, and I was starting to kind of coast by those guys. I don't know if coast by those guys, but work my way around those guys. So honestly, it worked out. It was completely unintentional, but it was probably the most beneficial unintentional strategy call I've ever had in this game.
Well, excuse me. Well, it certainly works out for you this evening. 2 tires actually working in an oval car. That's surprising, although it is on a road course. Brian, congratulations. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot this season.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Shout out you guys putting on the broadcast. Always fun. I know got a bunch of other people tuning in. Thanks you to John for, doing all the work he does putting this league together. All the social media graphics, presentation, all this stuff, making us look really good, doing as much promotion as possible. Eric and all the other admins who help coordinate the race as it's going. And then everybody else for showing up, because without them, there wouldn't be a race. It would just be me hot lapping around. So appreciate everybody else coming out. Ton of fun. Really looking forward to the rest of this season. Wasn't really sure how many races I was going to do, but I'll probably try to run as much as I can going forward. Obviously, aside from next week, which I already said. But yeah, looking forward to it.
There you go. Brian Mercurio to victory lane once more. And that means, Zach, that Josh Chin is next up after finishing 2nd place. I'm sure it's a bit of a surprising finish for him, given all that went on there at the end.
I'm not sure that Joshua Chin actually expected to be talking to us tonight, but here he is, finishing 2nd tonight after, starting 6th. And, Joshua, just kind of tell us, I don't think you expected to be finishing 2nd tonight, did you? Well, we have him. I'm not sure if he's at the microphone at the moment, though.
He may have stepped away for a brief moment, so we can go ahead and we can go down and grab Nate Stewart from the 3rd spot. And Josh, if you do hear us, we're not hearing you. We'll go on down and grab the driver of the 4 car this evening, who goes 3rd place when it's all said and done. And Nate, certainly some drama there in the last 2 corners. What happened from your point of view?
I burned off the rear tires, unfortunately, at the end, just trying to make up track position and stay as far ahead as I can, because I knew Brian was going to end up coming back at some point. And then the last 2 laps, my tires were absolutely killed, and I was just trying to hang on the best I could. And unfortunately, I screwed up the bus stop on the last lap, and that allowed Blake to get to my outside with a run out of the carousel. And then after that, I got shoved wide in turn 6. It was what it was. And then Sean Peleg came out of nowhere. We didn't make contact, but he definitely didn't give me any room. And then Sean kind of dove it in on Blake. Sean hit the grass, got into Blake. And then, I couldn't go anywhere because I was doing my best to slow down, to not hit him, because I didn't want to run him over. I didn't want to get a podium like that. But, they just slowed down. And if I slowed down too much, Josh is going to run me over. And it was just a whole variable of things. And I hate that it turned out that way. But, it's a good points night nonetheless.
Yeah, 3rd place, maybe a spot lower than, or even really 2 spots lower than we thought you were going to finish at one point in this race. But of course, some differing opinions from the 2 that you were involved in that crash with. Is that in your mind at all moving forward, or is that just kind of wash, rinse, repeat, go back out there next week and see what you can get at Pocono?
No, it's not really in my mind. I kind of have a reputation which I feel like is not deserved. I just typically have... It's kind of the story of my FTF season so far. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck, and that's pretty much been my iRacing season so far, no matter what I'm running. And not sure if y'all caught it, but Cole Cabrey decided to block me almost down to the inside wall on lap 7 or so. And
we caught it.
I'm sorry, I understand it's lap 7, but especially in this car, you can't just block whenever someone's 5 miles an hour faster than you without paying the consequences for it. So that kind of started snowballing, and then Yeah, I mean, really just going to shake it off. Go to Pocono next week. I really enjoy Pocono. It's definitely one of my better tracks, and feel like I could have something, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, really.
Well, hey, head up. I can hear the dejection in your voice a little bit, but I'm on side 4, I guess, if you will, team 4 in this case. Looked like it was just racing, hard racing there at the end of the race. Congratulations, 3rd place, and hopefully things turned around a little bit with, I guess, a little less contact and still the same speed at Pocono in a week.
Yeah, I gotcha. And I just want to say thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Apex Action Photography, that's me. Obviously, I take pictures. Speaking of which, I got to get on the Lucas Oil World Championship Series here after I get done here. And then Dylan Body at Body Shop for painting this car you see tonight. Rexford Engineering, Speed Visions, Core, and everyone that helps put on this league, Elite Performance Industries, and all the other guys. I know I'm not a setup shop driver by any means, but it's good to see the help that EPI puts into this, and I'm a fan of anyone that helps out a league that we're able to have fun in.
Absolutely. Nate Stewart on a podium this evening. Bottoms up on the podium, Zach, but still very well-deserved finish in the top 3 for Nate Stewart in the number 4 car. And you can hear the dejection in his voice, and I hate that because he didn't do anything wrong. I know that might be unpopular specifically with the 66 and 17 in their camps, but I think that was just good hard racing at the end. I don't think anybody did anything wrong. They just made contact. It's NASCAR style racing at Watkins Glen. I'm not sure what anybody else expected, especially in these Gen 4 cars. There's going to be some contact. It happened for a second. It was a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And this guy benefits from it all. Josh Shin ends up going 2nd this evening, Zach.
Yeah, Josh Chin just taking that 2nd place position away there at the end. You got a copy with us there, bud?
I do.
All right, so you're actually here this time, and I can use my lead-in that I tried to use a little bit ago, but I don't think you expected to be talking to us tonight now, did you?
No, it was pretty unexpected. I figured I'd had pace for maybe a top 5, but I didn't think 2nd or 3rd was going to be on the table, especially with the pace that Nate and Blake had there at the end, and Sean being up there. I didn't think there was any shot, but they all got together in the final corner, and it worked out pretty well for me. So happy to get 2nd for Private Label Team Hype, and solidly locked in top 20 in points now for Pocono, and Pocono's a good track for me, so I'm looking forward to that now.
Yeah, a lot of drivers who were up there in the points had a pretty bad day moving forward, and that's going to be affecting them for the next few races or so. You now are getting up there in the points a little bit more. The 2nd place finish obviously helps you. It's pointing you towards the playoffs. And do you feel that tonight, you think you can be a championship contending car towards the end of the season?
I definitely feel like there's a good shot. I had top 10 runs the first 2 races of the season and just didn't have them go my way. So it's nice to finally get the finish that reflects the run that I had most of the night. And the rest of the tracks coming up suit me pretty well, and the playoffs feel like tracks that I can do well at. So hopefully carry the momentum and just keep getting solid finishes, point my way in. If I get a win in that time period, great. If not, sitting, I think, 5th in points right now. So overall in a pretty good spot.
Absolutely. And one last thing before we get you out of here for the night. We saw a lot of differing strategies tonight and how these guys were able to handle it. We saw a couple guys taking tires. We saw a lot of full service before the stage caution. Do you think a lot of how the strategy play out was able to, just point the race in your favor?
I think overall, the first pit stop really worked out well in my favor. It was a little questionable with some of those guys that came in later and took tires. I figured that they were going to have a little bit more of an advantage there after the stage caution, but they didn't. Sean was really the only one who had the pace stay up, and once he took his pit stop, I thought he was out of it. So he did a really good job making sure that he held on track position. It's unfortunate for him that he only got 7th out of it, but he had a really good run to be up there before that, working that strategy and being on a different one. Ultimately, Brian's 2 tires that won the race was a mistake because he thought he had unchecked tires, and he wasn't trying to take them, and then he had the pace advantage at the end. So, accidental win for him on strategy wise, but he was definitely the fastest driver all night, so I don't think strategy was going to change that for him.
Well, when all is said and done, after all the chaos, all the racing tonight, you bring it home 2nd. You did a great job, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, guys.
And Andrew, that's actually surprising to hear that 2-tire stop for Brian Mercurio was a mistake, and it ultimately played into his favor.
Yeah, and we heard that from Brian himself a little bit ago. Hey, it works out. That's all that matters. It's something we've seen before, but not really with NASCAR level stock cars. We've seen it a little bit very specifically with the Noble Can-Am series. And I think there were some drivers that even did that here. Took 2 left sides, and it helped them in the right turning corners, which is 5 out of the 7 here, I think, at Watkins Glen. In fact, we can bring the track map up and verify that. I believe it's 5 out of the 7, and sure enough, you've got a right-hander, another right-hander, finally one left-hander, a right-hander. The inner loop will cross off that list for now, but then a right-hander, finally a second left-hander, and then a right-hander. So a whole lot of right-hand turns. Left sides are the way to go if you're going to take 2 tires. It's worked out nicely for even road series in the past with GT-style cars here at Watkins Glen. It's very much something you can do at tracks like this. You might think you could do it on a place like Road America because it's relatively similar in a lot of right-hand turns. It doesn't work out quite as well there. I don't know, for whatever reason, why that is. You could do it, but for some reason, it doesn't work quite as well. And probably because of turn 5, turn 6, turn 8, there's a few more really important left-hand corners. The 2 tires, for whatever reason, worked out nicely for Brian Mercurio this evening, sending him to victory lane. And Zach, that means we get to look up ahead at what's next for these drivers. With Watkins Glen out of the way, next up, the triangle, the tricky triangle at Pocono Raceway, August 23rd in 1 week's time. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily if I'm looking forward to Pocono, but I can tell you for certain I'm looking forward to Chicago and to Bristol, considering those are the next 2 races up on my 4-race schedule with the UFL this season. But Pocono, it's going to play some interesting strategies in my opinion, just because we've seen how these cars handled back in the day when it was NASCAR racing at that track with these cars. They had 2 races there in the middle of the season and usually during the summer months. So I suspect that it's going to be a little hot for these guys. It's going to be slick. It's going to be loose. There may be a lot of crashes. There may not be. But Chicago, Bristol, definitely 2 races that are going to be interesting to see as well. Brazil, though, not a track I expected to see Gen 4 NASCAR stock cars on. Obviously, Stock Car Brazil and Formula 1 are some tracks or some cars that I thought I'd see on that track, but never in my day did I think I'd see a NASCAR Cup car on there moving forward in the iRacing sim.
We've seen GTE cars go to Brazil here on Pit Stop TV. We've seen GT3 cars, Porsche GT3 Cup cars. We've seen Radicals go there, probably Mazdas at some point, GT4s at some point, I'm sure. We've seen just about any road car you can dream up go there at some point in time, maybe even Indy cars at some point. I'm sorry, open wheel cars at some point. It's only adding to that kind of, I guess, history with Brazil on the channel. Very often used course between all of the NRL seasons that we've seen in the past and other series like the Sim Pit Radical series in their most recent season earlier this year. It makes sense, honestly, to go to Brazil one more time this year at the very least, but it is very much a surprise to see it on a NASCAR type schedule right between Bristol Motor Speedway and Michigan International Speedway. Excuse me, one heck of a trip, that's for sure, for round number 7. And with how late that is in the season, that goes back to what I was saying. If you need to make up points to get into the playoffs or try to get a win, even if you're Ryan Vargas and have a race win already, you've got to be good at Brazil. You've got to find a way. Start putting in the practice now, because I'm sure a lot of these guys have enough knowledge to go off of for the other 4 races, other 4 ovals left to go in the regular season. I'm sure they'll be set for Pocono, Chicago, Bristol, Michigan, whatever. You need to get practicing already for Interlagos, round 7. That is going to be a really, really important round, and I think it's going to be a bit of a sleeper round for whoever is able to win it, and it very well could be the same guys we saw up front this evening. It probably will be Brian Mercurio or Josh Chin or Nate Stewart or Blake Reynolds, one of those guys, Sean Peleg as well. Watch out for that 17 car in a couple of weeks. Should be a lot of fun. But Zach, that all out of the way, let's talk about what's next for us here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, Monday evening, we go to Hickory Motor Speedway, August 21st, for the EPI Short Track Monday continuation going on into late model stock cars. It's going to be a lot of fun, 8:15 Eastern, as EPI Short Track Mondays roar on through 2023, season number 3.
Yeah, I always love seeing those late model stock cars, especially at a track like Hickory. It's pretty much home for them. It's a home track for a late model stock car, and we're sticking with the late model stock car, rolling into Tuesday night with the Lucas Oil Raceway, or Lucas IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway Park, or however they like to call it nowadays, for the D-Line Racing League. That is their championship race, actually. Yes, we saw a lot of great racing with them last night, and then the following day, Wednesday night, Pocono Raceway for the Elite Performance, or UFL Elite Series. Still has a little bit of sponsorship from Elite Performance Industries, but got the names mixed up a little bit there. The logos look similar, so it threw me off. But always so many great places to follow along. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.com, obviously the main place that we stream on. We also, I believe we post the streams on Facebook and Twitter as well. The only platform we're not streaming on at the moment is Twitch. And then new to the Pit Stop TV camp is kick.com/pitstoptv. It's a great new streaming platform. It's got a lot of great things going on behind it. But the drivertees.com at the Glen has produced one heck of a show tonight for us, Andrew.
For sure. Brian Mercury, a race winner in race number 3 this evening in the drivertees.com at the Glen, powered by Patriot Media Services. Love partnering up with Patriot as well this season. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of them involved later on in this UFL season. Thanks for tuning in. It has been a pleasure as always. Plenty of racing left to go this season. Pocono next up for these guys. Next week we stay up in the Northeast. A lot of great racing coming the rest of the season. A big shout out to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, as well as those associated with this UFL Elite Series, Elite Performance Industries, Speed Visions. Excuse me. I've been trying to mute for those coughs. Couldn't get that one, but see, that one too. Hopefully,
for your speedy recovery.
Yeah, thankfully there's a few days off for our next broadcast next Monday, and should be sorted out by then, but thanks for tuning in this evening. It has been a pleasure as always. Check out drivertees.com as well as these partners below in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That'll do it for us, for myself and Zach Murdos in the booth. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit